Das vidania, comrades, and welcome back to Men of War Assault Squad 2. We are nearing the end of the GSM faction overview videos. I, however, have found, of course, Red Rising, and there's some interesting nations or groups or well, you'll see what I have in mind. There's some interesting factions to take a look at in Red Rising, but of course, before we do Red Rising, we shall have to do the Russian faction, which we're going to do today in GSM, and the much teased and very much requested German faction overview or showcase video in Assault Squad 2. But today, as I said, we're going to start off with the Russians, the Ruskies, the Comrades, the Bolsheviks, the I don't know, the Red Menace of the Second World War. So again, I forgot my water bottle. I do have bad memories. Last time I did a video, which was on the British, I was not able to speak for 3 days because I spent my voice in that hour. So I'm going to try and keep it a little bit calmer this time around. So if the video is an hour and a half because I have to slow down a little bit, then I'm sorry, but you know, it's a Men of War, so let's go do the video. Yay! Anyhow, let me take a look and see where we should start. And before we start, I'm going to actually fill up my water bottle, so I'll be back in a few seconds. Alright, so what I like about YouTube is the fact that I literally just was 10 minutes away grabbing some water, making myself a sandwich, reading something in a newspaper. And for you, it only took, like, what, a second or two? So, yeah, I'm kind of a time traveler. So, what we're going to do today, as I've said, is we're going to take a look at the Russian faction of GSM. And we're going to start off, as always, at the very, very top, at the Infantry. I can already feel my throat starting to hurt. This is not good. Okay, here we go. The Tank Man, or, of course, Tank Crew member. In this case, armed with the TT Tokarev, I think. The TT. I know that the first letter stands for something, and I read it earlier today playing RO2. I read what the T stands for in the first T, I think, but now I forgot. But let's listen to the gun. I think it's the same sound model as a Colt 45, but you know, the point is, it's just like, you know, a random tank room and no point in spending more time. A conscript, which is a Strafnik. Now, Straf in Dutch, if you spell it like that, would mean a penalty. Now, I'm not sure if this is like a penal battalion unit, because or whether it's just a partisan. It doesn't really become clear, and to be fair, my Russian isn't so good, so I'm not sure what Strafnik means. I hope I even pronounced that correctly. Moving on to the rifleman, he's armed. This guy is also armed with a Mosin Nagant, probably just the same as all the other, well, you know, normal Russian soldiers are. This is also a Mosin. This guy, although, comes with a AP grenade and, oh, an AT grenade, not a Molotov. Oh, I'm surprised. I thought he would come with a Molotov grenade. The Strafnik comes with 2 AP grenades and the Ushanka. Isn't this called an Ushanka? I'm pretty sure it's called an Ushanka. The Guards rifle, armed with the famous SVT-40, the semi-auto Russian rifle. And he comes with an AP grenade and an AT grenade. Moving him up. We have the submachine gunner armed with the PPSH-41, but this is not the one with the 71 round drum mag. This is the one with the 35 round magazine. And if I'm correct, this is a Finnish design which the Russians stole and improved upon. Comes with a RPG-6 AT grenade, 2 AP grenades, and a smoke grenade. Moving on to the machine gunner, which costs a lot of points out there. 40 points, and this is the DP-27 armed. This is the pizza gun, or the pizza dish gun, or the just a pizza gun, I guess. It doesn't fire too quick, but it has you know, a large amount of bullets in the magazine, so you can keep down the fire, you know, while your squad moves up on an enemy position. Of course, he doesn't have any grenades, but he has some, you know, some shovel and bags to make himself a nice sandbag wall. Moving on to the Elite SMG. This guy is armed with the PPSH-43. Damn! It's not the PPSH, it's just a PPS-43. But then again, this guy also is armed with body armor, and he looks as if he is ready for actual winter fucking combat. The Sturmovaya. The PPSH-43 doesn't fire that quick as I'd expect it to fire. But then again, he does have TNT, 2 AP, 4 AT grenades, and as I said, has the body armor, which is pretty useful, to be honest. Moving on to the Elite Rifleman. This guy is a Marine. It says Gvardjitsk. I cannot even pronounce that, sorry. I'm going to get hate in the comments. This is the guy with a Marine. This is a Marine shirt, though. Armed with that same SVT-40, has a Molotov, a knife, an AT grenade, and 2 AP grenades. My apologies. And moving on to the Elite SMG is also a DP-27. This guy, though, has body armor, has some smoke, and has some AP grenades. Alright, moving him up, we have the Common Engineers. There's no point in looking. These guys are both armed with most in the guns, probably. Yes, and one of them is an anti-personnel, and the other one is an anti-tank miner. There's no point in looking at those. We have a sapper. Of course, he has the must in the guns, and he has a little mine detector, always useful for the mine-laying enemies. Moving on, we have the anti-tank rifleman, the PTRS. This is a very interesting rifle. Not only as an anti-tank rifle, but you can also use it as an improvised sniper, because it actually has 5 rounds in the clip, and it fires them quite fast, and I'm pretty sure those are one-shot kills if you consider the size of these shells. I'm not sure how big they are, but I'm pretty sure it's a 12 or like somewhere between 10 and 12 millimeter shot he's firing. You don't want that to hit your body with the velocity of these rounds, and usually they come with like armored cores or stuff, or I forgot the name, like molten cores. Pretty sure that would destroy like a human body in one shot. It also comes with a TT as a backup grenade, or backup pistol, as an AP grenade, and 2 AT grenades as well. Moving on to the 8th Infantry. This guy is armed with the American M9. Oh, isn't that the M9 bazooka? Oh, it's the M1A1 bazooka, apparently. Can talk long or short, has a TT Tokarev, has an AT grenade, can fire just a rocket air, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just a normal bazooka. And moving on, I know I'm going super fast. I will try and slow down. The Rifle Grenade Infantry Soldier, armed with a Mosin Nagant with grenade launcher. That looks a lot like a... Is it me, or does it just look like a Lee Enfield? Did I just rename it to a... Maybe it looks more like an M1 Garand? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just stupid. But, yeah, you know, it's easy, simple. You know, every nation has one of these grenade launcher guys. You just use them to, you know, wreak havoc on enemy positions. Pistol for backup, 2 grenades, and an AP grenade, or AT grenade. The Flamethrower Infantry, I'm not going to take a look at him. It's the exact same unit as in every other nation. The Sniper is armed with a Mosin Sniper, and he has a 7-round clip Mosin of Nagant revolver, and a knife and some camouflage netting and stuff as well. Moving on to, of course, the radio operator, which, you know, is in every nation, is the exact same thing. The guy is armed with the PPSH-41 with the, hang on, let's use this, 71-round clip, or magazine, sorry, my bad, or drum mag even. And I guess, yeah, he's also armed with the flare pistol, and, you know, radio operator hat. You know, there's nothing really new about this guy, except for the fact that I really think this looks like a Star Wars hat, but that's about it. And last but not least, the officer. He comes in the car gas 67. I know it's not a car gas, but it's just a gas. And he's armed with a Nagant revolver and some ammo grenades, and he of course has a driver who's probably armed with a PPSH-41. Yes. All right, let's get him in there, and let's drive him away. So that's all the infantry, single infantry's done. Let's move on to the infantry squads. We have the tank crew, obviously. If you buy 2, you save yourself 2 MP. Not going to take a look at these guys. They're just exact same. The machine gun squad, which is 2 guys, one armed with a PPD 40. Oh, interesting. And that fires fast. Holy shit. One armed with the PPD-40 and one armed with the DP-27. Moving them up. I said moving them up. The AT rifleman. Of course, same story. One guy with a PPSH-41 and one guy with the PTRS or PTRS, yes, it was PTRD. That's actually a 14.5 millimeter, if I'm correct. It's insane. Okay, moving on to the AT infantry. Same story. One guy with a PPSH and one guy with a bazooka. You know, it's these little squads you also have in the vanilla game. Moving on to the conscript squad. This is pretty obvious what these are. These are all Strafniks. Most of them are armed with a rifle. All of them are armed with a rifle. 20 grenades, so 2 each. Moving on to the rifle squad. The first actual squad, they have 8 rifle guys, 1 SMG, and 1 machine gunner. The Commandir Otdelenia. Commandir Otdelenia. I just murdered that word. Russians or Ukrainians or wherever you're from, if you're from like the eastern part of Europe, you can be mad at me for murdering your nation's words, also, or your region's words. Also, Pulemetchik, the machine with the DP-27, and the commander here with the squad leader with the PPSH-41, and all these guys with a, of course. Wait, these are SVTs. Hang on, SVT. Oh, there's a mixture of there's a mixture of SVTs and Mussins there. That's a good squad actually. The assault squad. This is of course this is 9 SMGs and 1 machine gunner. I see a mixture of PPSH-41s, but that's but that's without the drum mag. I see more. I see PPSH. I see PPS-43s, a PPS-40H, one with the drum mag on the commander, and another DP-27. Again, a good squad, you know, for especially with all the like automatic, like all those PPSHs and PPSs. Really interesting squad. The Marines with the striped T-shirts. Here we go. We have now. I guess we have to separate these guys. One guy with the SKS. I forgot the Solomonov. Something, an SVT, a DP-27. We have another SKS, which is a semi-auto rifle, as you just seen. See, semi-auto. We have oh damn, hang on, I'll take a look at you in a second. That's a DT-60, right? DT-29. I'll take a look at that. Another SKS. Oh, hang on. Another SKS, another SVT. Another SVT. So 4 SVT, 4 SKS, 1 DP-27, and the DT-29, which is an amazing machine gun, and it's mostly used as a machine gun on most Russian tanks in the coaxial or the top turret position, especially early tanks, and it's a really good machine gun actually, and a 3-star accuracy on that guy. That's really interesting. The Guards rifles. There's a lot of songs about these Russian heroes. A lot of songs. What the hell is this? Oh, that's the AW. I've never heard of this. This Simonov AWS. It's semi-auto, 15 rounds. Another one. These guys are also both armed with the M1 bazookas. We have a SVT-40, 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 and 2 guys with the DP-27s. This is a pretty good squad with, you know, semi-automatic rifles and 2 machine guns and also some bazookas. Moving on to the Red Guards, the last special unit. These guys, of course, are the probably the heroes of the Soviet Union, the Shturmovayas. We have a guy with a PPS with a 35 round, 41 round, a bazooka, another 41 round, or 71 round, sorry, a 35 PPS 43, another PPS 43, a flamethrower, a DT-27, another DT-27, and another guy with a PPS 41 with the 35 clip or round mag. Damn interesting. They all have body armor too, which makes them really powerful. Especially, the flamethrower is not carrying body armor. That'd be a little bit too OP. Although the flamethrower does have a backup machine gun or submachine gun to help him out close quarters, which is really good for him, of course. And then the Russian mechanized. I'll get all of these guys out of the vehicle and quickly take a look at these as well. We have one SVT, a PPSH-43, or PPS-43, sorry. Another SVT, another PPS. Oh, this is PPS-41. It's so confusing. Another PPSH-41, another PPS-43, another SVT, or yes, another SVT, another PPS-43, another AVT. Did I just say SVT? I meant to say SVT, not AVT, and another PPSH-41 with the Steady Run Brown drum mag. So a good squad, but you know you basically pay your points. Some quests are good, but you pay the points for the half track. And here are the sappers, of course. You know. They come with a vehicle, and the vehicle is pretty cool looking. This car is with all the wood and stuff. It looks pretty cool. And it comes with engineers to put down some extra mines. It's basically a cheaper way of getting the engineers, because you get the truck and you get all kinds of material with it as well. Woo! Let me take a sip of water, boys. Hang on. Okay. So that is all the infantry done. Now we'll take a look at the vehicles, the transport and support vehicles. We have the M27 motorbike armed with the DS39 machine gun, which has a lot of rounds in it, I think. It sounds like an MG42. It has 250 rounds before having to reload. So I was going to take another sip of water while this machine gun just keeps firing. Well, there's no stopping that, and the reload speed isn't even that bad. So, yeah, you don't want this thing to turn off when you have some infantry around. Good little vehicle, quick, fit 45 kilometers an hour, interesting unit. The GAZ-76B, this is an upgraded version of the GAZ-76 here. I'm pretty sure the B is going to stand for armed or armored or armed or machine gun in Russian. I'm not sure what the B would stand for, but probably something like machine gun. That's just gonna, you know, that's an easy assumption. Wow, holy shit. I knew how to say this word before. The Vorozolivets, there we go. That's probably the way how you kind of, well, I probably still murdered that word. Transport vehicle can transport 11 infantry, including the 2 that are already in the front. Pretty useful, actually. Again, with the unseeable through 4 windows, but, you know, hey, it's a new model they made. And I guess it's just a transport truck. It only goes 24 kilometers an hour, but you can transport 9 people in it. It's really good, including 2 guys in the front. So, yeah, that's pretty good. No, you can, yeah, 11 people, including the 2 in the front. Yes, there we go. And next is the ZIS-42M. This is probably just another, I mean, what is this even? This is just a tow truck for artillery, probably. Oh, here's one of my favorites. The GAZ AAA 1937 with Maxim AA. Look at this. This is insane. This is also in Heroes and Generals, and there's also this in War Thunder. And this is an insane thing. I'm just gonna let this thing drive up. And I need to kill some of these infantry to get rid of the, you know, amount on the screen. So, prepare for massacre. Oh, did I turn off friendly fire? If I did, I'm gonna be pretty mad at myself. Oh. Well, I turned off friendly fire, boys. Only headshots can actually kill people, which is annoying, because I'm pretty sure I kept on friendly fire just because I wanted to, you know, make sure that I can actually, you know, kill some of these, so I have an easier time. You know, without lag, basically. But I guess you can, I'll just keep firing and see how much ammo goes into it. How much ammo did I spend? I spent 800 rounds. 200 rounds per gun. That is, look at this, just look at that setup, that's insane. And the truck itself can go 36 kilometers an hour. It can fire 800 rounds before having to have like a short, well, medium to short reload. For, you know, at least for the amount of bullets you're spraying down range. So, that was the Maxim AAA. Moving on to the ZIS-5. This is a truck armed with some engineering supplies, as I figured. Yes, sir. Just move him out of there. No point in looking at him anymore. The ZIS-5 with the ammo, same, but just look a bit different. The ZIS-5 fuel truck, which looks pretty cool. I mean, I just like the old, like, early 1900 or early like 20th century look of it. It's like a very old-timer vehicle, even for a World War II theater, in my opinion. This truck is just a light ammunition truck. We have a American Studebaker truck. This is 5 artillery, and is this 6 rocket. So, you know, there's no real point in looking at these really, because they're all kind of the same. But they just have like they have tracks or tires, or they have like a little hood over the back. But that's about it. So with all the transport and support stuff being done, I'm gonna take another sip of water. Yeah, you know, I'd rather take enough sips of water and make sure I don't die. Oh, it's so good to drink when you're, you know, talking much. It actually really helps, you know, clearing your throat. Your throat. There you go. That's a hard word to say. All right. Oh, it's always a hard word to say. Moving on to the machine guns, anti-aircraft guns, and anti-tank guns. The SG-43 Gorinov machine gun. This is the famous. This is not the famous Dushka gun, but it looks a lot like it. It's this always reminds me of the movie Enemy at the Gates, where they just have like these behind the you know, Russians assaulting the German positions, and then just use it to mow down the Russians that retreat, which is a pretty sad scene, to be honest. But interesting machine gun. It looks pretty cool. I like a little. It actually provides some cover for the guy laying down, as you can see. You know, it's going to be harder to take him down because he's got a shield in front of him. It's a pretty good one, and it's also towable by one guy, which is really useful because most machine guns, of course, you have to have 2 guys for them in this game. So the Dushka machine gun, same story. This gun is a little bit heavier. And this can definitely penetrate light vehicles, because I think it fires a 12.7 or 13.7 caliber round, a 12.7 millimeter round. So yes, it's definitely going to punch some light vehicles in if you wanted to. Moving on to the PKP. This is always a fun one. This thing is absolutely insane. It's a 14.5 millimeter machine gun, but this thing will shred Pumas, SDFKZs, even Panzer 1s, Panzer 2s are not safe from this thing. It's insanely crazy. And infantry, God, infantry better hide when a PKP shows up. PKP is going to be scary. Moving on to the 45mm M42 AT gun. The M42 AT gun is a 45mm AT gun. It looks pretty big for a 45mm. I would actually almost confuse this for a bigger AT gun, which in multiplayer, you don't always have time to look at, you know, what people are using really. So it actually would be pretty scary. You would have to like, is this, like, it just seems bigger because the barrel is so long. This would be scary to go up against if you don't have the time to look at what, like, you know, like what it is exactly. So just for that purpose, it is interesting because you don't know before you look at it and you can see it's a 45mm gun. That is a 45mm gun because it could just be like a 76mm gun or a 75mm gun or a bigger caliber gun than 45 coming, you know, just going off the barrel. We're moving on to the 37mm 61K AA gun. Comes with a T20 Komsomolets tractor, and the tractor has a DT-29 in the hull. As I said, it's that machine gun. And the 37mm AA gun has HE shells and AP shells. Not a lot of them, to be honest, but it works. And a little AP. Sounds really cool, but the issue is the low ammo count, which is kind of a bitch for that thing. The 76mm M1936 F22, I think this is a divisional gun. It's an AT gun. I think this is pretty close to the gun that's on one of the T-34-76s. 76mm gun. It's an AT gun. It's just pre-war. It's, you know, 1936, I think, and you know, it's definitely scary. It's just also very big, which makes it a very easy target for artillery or for, you know, enemy tanks trying to get the initial HE shot off on an AT gun like this. And it's very big. Look at that size, and that's just for a 76mm gun. So it's not the best gun out there. This one, however, and I'll put it next to it. See that there's a big difference in size between these two. With the 76mm S3 being smaller. And I think also being a better gun, it's pretty easy. Pardon me, wow. Pretty easy which one you should pick if you have the money to buy both. Taking a sip of water. And moving on to the 57mm ZIS-2 AT gun. I never understood this really, why the... wait, is this called an artillery? I'm not really sure about that. Apparently it's artillery. Not really sure why the 76mm is a medium AT gun and the 57mm is a heavy AT gun. If somebody could explain to me how a smaller caliber gun can be a bigger... I mean, it makes sense. Maybe the shell is better at penetrating, but it's just weird it calls a heavy AT gun, whereas the size is smaller. That always intrigued me in this game. But no, it's just a very good heavy AT gun, and it's a little bit smaller than the F-22 divisional gun. So yeah, it's definitely worth buying for some, you know, Panzer IVs. They'll definitely not live when this thing turns up. The 85mm 52K AA gun comes with the Karzist 42 with the tracks to tow it. And this gun is absolutely big, and it's beastly and scary. I think this is the basis for Russia's 85mm tank guns as well. It sounds really good, it looks really awesome, and it's definitely a tank killer. I think there's a story here about how it took about 500, almost 600 rounds to shoot at an enemy aircraft, and they have shot down 4,000 plus of them, so... They definitely fired like 2.4 million rounds. Am I correct in saying that? 240,000 rounds. That's a lot. That's insane on average. That's just an insane amount. Insane amount. Let's hoist this one up and get it out of there. Kind of annoyed that I cannot kill my own stuff because I just need to get artillery and blow it up myself. Luckily, here comes the artillery next, and I can just use the BM-21 to blow some shit up. Hopefully. The 100mm BS-3 comes with a Voroshilov armored tractor, armored vehicle, and the BS-3 is a damn impressive AT gun. I want to. All right, so right as my luck would have it, of course, yes, the game managed to crash. What a surprise! So, I took a 5-minute anger break, and I went downstairs, and I totally smashed a towel into the bin, because I thought that would make me feel happier. It kind of did. So we're going back to the BS-3, the 100mm Russian AT gun with the vehicle I'm not going to pronounce again, the Voroshilov that's probably correct. Fuck it. With the 100mm, which tows a 100mm BS-3 AT gun, which is insane and will blast through tigers, yak panthers, no trouble whatsoever. Absolutely insane AT gun. The giant size of it kind of makes it, a bit unwieldy. Luckily, you have the, the half track with it, which can tow it, relatively fast. Well, that's the half track and the BS-3, and that concludes the AT guns and machine guns and anti-aircraft guns. Let's move on to the mortars and artillery, the BM-37. I once read a quote from a Russian general who said 1 out of 3 German soldiers has the Iron Cross, 1 out of 3 Russian soldiers has a mortar. I'm not sure where this quote came from, and I read it somewhere in a book apparently, if I can remember correctly. But the point was that the Russians had a lot of mortars, and the BM-37 is no exemption. Of course, it's just a mortar, so I'm not going to really look at it, but the guys look really stupid while carrying it. But, it's a mortar, and it does its job. It's a standard mortar. Moving on to the M21 half-track, which is an American half-track, where they took off the machine gun and then they put in a BM-37 mortar in the rear, which, it works. It's fast. It's a it's a lot faster than pulling well, I guess picking up the mortar and then having it drive around or run around like those guys. So and this also gives some protection. You could run over infantry, but the guys are on a pedestal and they're really high. They're like not really inside the vehicle. They're basically on top of it, so they're not really safe from like small arms fire. The drivers are kind of safe, but the guys on the mortar themselves are not really that safe. Then again, it's the mortar can only go about maybe, what is this, like 70 degrees from left to right, 60 degrees from left to right. So there's some disadvantages. There's also some advantage in terms of speed, of course. Moving on to the M1938 heavy regimental mortar. This thing is yeah, it sounds awesome. And just, damn, it's just intense, that thing. This thing is absolutely insane. I think it fires 5 rounds before reloading. It comes with a nice little push cart, which, it's easy to use this way. It's 120 millimeter mortar, so it's really good. It's not as big as a Japanese 150 millimeter mortar, but the 120, it gets the job done when it needs to. The 76mm OBR 1927 support gun. This is a very weird gun. I've never seen this before. I expect this to be an artillery, like little howitzer. Okay, it's basically like the M8 howitzer for the Americans, or like the M8 Scotch, or the BT7, or BT7 with the, what is that called? Not the BT, yeah, the BT7A with like the little artillery gun. This is basically the pushed version of that. It's just a little howitzer which you can use for direct fire support or indirect fire support. The SU-122. This is a SPG, self-propelled gun. It comes with a 120mm M30, and it's literally the exact same gun as this thing, but this thing comes with a half-track. This thing has, armor on it. So, honestly, I don't know. Okay, well, for those extra 50 points, definitely go for the SU-122, because it has armor. And 45mm isn't bad, but it's definitely better than not having any armor. And this truck is not as fast as the tank itself, so it's a pretty good buy, and it's it's just like a support gun. It's not going to do anything to like tanks or anything, but you can definitely kill reinforced positions, enemy AT guns, etc., etc. So in that case, it's a good unit. The 152mm D1 field howitzer, same story as always. It's a field howitzer. Comes with the Voroshilovets tractor. Well, yeah, it's actually a tractor. It's on a half track. It's a fully tracked vehicle. And that thing, of course, can carry infantry, and this thing, of course, can fire shells. 150mm big. I think it's the predecessor. Yes, because this is the same gun as you get on the. Is it not the same gun? It is the same gun. Yes. So this gun is exactly the same gun as on the SU-152. So what I'll do, I'll just show you the SU-152 firing later, because just setting up and turning it around and stuff just costs more time than actually showing off the 152 in a little bit. Moving on to the 203mm B4 field howitzer. This is pretty known to, I guess, everyone who played this game. Vanilla is the 203mm howitzer, which is really good. It's a special colon in single player. It's a special point unit in multiplayer. This thing is awesome and can blow tanks. This thing can blow tanks away. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'll just turn it around, and while I'm turning it around, I'll buy the next unit. The SU-52 is a 122mm armed SU-5. It's a very weird thing because it has a very short barrel. It's just for infantry support, really. It's not really meant to. The guys are just like barely standing on it. Like these guys are like, this guy's like hovering over the ground. This guy's too. It's not really meant to be used, as a very long range unit. I could see this like very close to the front lines, firing a shot or two and then running away again, because it's not armored at all and doesn't have any like protection. In the meantime, we'll just fire this thing at the barn over there, because it finally managed to turn around. And the barn's pretty much gone. Because that's what happens when you fire a 203mm sized shell at a barn. It's nerfed because it only fires one shot and has to reload, but it at least comes with a nice Voroshilovets. I think I said it correct that time. So that's the 203 and the... Where did it go? The SU-5-2. Moving on to the SU-14-1, or the school bus, as people know it in World of Tanks, I think. It's the same thing as the 203 millimeter field howitzer, but this thing just comes with a well, tank. It's basically like a driving one. It's a little bit faster. It's a machine gun. This, of course, costs more. It actually costs 400 points more, which is a lot considering that. I mean, to be fair, it moves quicker and it has a little bit added protection in the form of armor, and it actually has a machine gun. So, but I'm not sure if it's worth so much more points. Here comes the Russian strong suit, though. They're rocket vehicles. The BM-824 on T-60. Very fun unit in multiplayer. This is basically just a T-60 light tank that the Russians thought it was a good idea to arm it with a rocket launcher, which is insane because the Russians are insane when it comes to weapons and stuff. Look at the KV-2, look at all their rocket trucks, which is yeah, anyway, it fires 24 rockets, I think, and it has does it fire 24? Maybe, I think it does. Maybe it does 18. It's hard to say. I'm not actually. Let me count it. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 24. 12 on the top, 12 on the bottom. So it's basically just like a little T-60 tank, which is very maneuverable, 34 kilometers an hour, very fast, and it has rocket launchers on it, which is really good. They're not the biggest rockets out there. They're only, I can't see here. They actually weigh 1,000 kilograms. Moving on to the Katyusha, the famous Katyusha. These weigh, I don't know, these weigh less, but 132 millimeter rocket launcher system, which can fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 rockets. Of course, these were used in massive numbers and not just like one firing at a time, because these were not accurate enough to be used, single-handedly. You needed a couple of these, and by couple I mean like dozens of them to have any lasting effect. They scared the Germans. Of course they did. The sounds, screaming Katyushas, but the actual effect, to destroy, start destroying stuff, you needed a lot of them, because they were really inaccurate. And last but not least is the BM-3112. Well, take a slip of water. Only armed with 12 rockets, but these are, I think, pretty damn big. They weigh less, but I'm pretty sure there's something about this thing, which I'm not sure why this is so expensive compared to the other ones. There's probably something that I don't know about it. It looks very sophisticated compared to the Katyusha. It actually has like a launching system and stuff. I'm not sure what the difference is between this one and the other ones, and people will probably tell you in the comment section below. So if you're wondering, just look at the comment section below and enjoy the explanation by someone who's way smarter, when it comes to Katyushas and rocket launchers than I am. So that is the artilleries and mortars done. We'll move on to the armored vehicles. So T-20 Commandelet's already looked at this. It's armed with a DT-29 machine gun. Because take a look at, well, I guess it has some benches. We could put some. You could put 6 extra guys in here, which is pretty funny. I just bought some tank crew. Literally has benches on the side. Literally has benches on the side. And there you go. There you go. It's a full tank crew transporter. Pretty useful, actually. If you want to get your tank crew somewhere fast with a little machine on it, it's pretty useful. They're very, very fragile on there. They can easily get shut off, but that's not the point. The M3A1 with the 30 cal, and it's not a 30 cal, it's a DT-29 machine gun on the half track. Half track comes with a bazooka and some ammo and TNT and grenades and repair kits. It's for useful, if you want to transport units quick across the battlefield, room for 8 soldiers besides the 2 that are driving and gunning. This half track also is in the American tech tree, or an American lineup and the British lineup, so no really point to look at it anymore. The B-820, this reminds me of the days of the Russian Revolution. It looks really funny. It's literally just a car that they put armored plating on. It's armed with a DT-29. There's not much you can really say about this. I'm not sure. Is it glitched? It just seems to be hitting. It seems to be hitting something in the gun, which is kind of weird, but I guess it's just literally an armored car. It literally is an armored car. Moving on to the B-64, this might be even worse. This is more even literally an armored car. I don't like this thing. It's more expensive, but the machine gunner is actually able to get shot out of this thing, whereas on this car, it's not. The armor here is a little bit more, but the speed's the same, and I don't see why it wouldn't. Like this vehicle at least has a a safe drive or a safe machine gunner. This guy is definitely going to be able to, at least in multiplayer, single player, you always see the B-64 drivers get shut out. This must be a dog's job to drive this thing around in a battlefield. Okay, next we have the M3A1 Scout car. I've already looked at this. It's a 50 cal armed vehicle. It's already an American tech tree, and the rules with these videos are, if they're in another country's tech tree, I'm not going to really take a look at them. You know, because I already have taken a look at that vehicle. The BA-11, armed with a 45mm 20K gun. This thing was, I think, widely used in the war against Japan in Manchuria. 10 to 50 millimeters of armor, 38 kilometers an hour, 4 crew, 1 hull machine gun, 1 coaxial machine gun. This car isn't bad. It's definitely not good, but it definitely has decent maneuverability and good machine guns. And actually, the 45 millimeter gun isn't too bad. For like such a cheap early unit. And last but not least, in this one is a ZIS-42M with a 37mm 61K AA gun. This is basically the same as this thing, but now it's on the back of a truck, which it has its own charm. It works. It's not the best thing out there, but it definitely as an early tank killer, this thing can do its job, mainly because it doesn't have to fear, and it can just blow shit up because it has that massive autocannon. It can just like spray fire, and you'll probably get lucky and land 1 or 2 hits, or will decrew the vehicle or damage it or whatever in a way. So good unit in that perspective. Let's move up to the light tanks. Well, I'll take another sip of water. The first light tank is the T-38, also known in, I think, World of, Heroes and Generals. It's just armed with a DT-20, a DS-39 machine gun, 1 shitty turret, which, I guess turret's fast, but it is just a shitty vehicle. None of you are going to bother looking at it. Look how bad it is. I mean, it's a tank, I guess, it's a good anti-infantry vehicle, but that's about it. It does have that 250 round machine gun, which is insanely good. Moving on to the T-18, which is of course taken from the French Renault FT-17, also known as the MS-1 in World of Tanks. The T-18 is, it's slow, low velocity gun, 37mm gun, very slow as I said, and no armor, but it's a little tank, and this can definitely annoy the enemy if it doesn't have, an anti-tank soldier around. Moving on to the T-60, probably one of my most favorite vehicles to use when you're in for a fun game and for a rush. Has a 20mm autocannon, and as you can see, you can just spray this thing and it will hit something. I was aiming for this truck and I hit that BA-64 just to indicate how bad the aiming is on this thing. But it's an autocannon and it's a fun little tank to use, and the speed's quite good. It's good for flanking. It's a lot of fun. The T-26 is probably one of the more well-known vehicles to people that play War Thunder. I think it's the reserve for them in War Thunder for the Russian tech tree. Armored, a 45mm 20K gun. It's the same gun as on the BA-11, but you have a little bit more armor, and you actually have a wait, is that a machine gun? No, wait, hang on. You actually lose the whole machine gun, but you get yourself a rear machine gun. I'm not sure if that's a good trade, but it's a little vehicle and it has good armors or a decent gun for its size. So yeah, that's not too bad. The BT-5M 1934. Did I not see the BT-7A in this? Confused. I would expect that to be there. The BT-30, oh, did I just buy 2 of them? No, the BT-5M 1934 with, of course, a Christie suspension, where America and Germany were like, that's never gonna work, or England, or no, that's never gonna, it's never gonna catch on. The Russians decided to use a Christie suspension, which was a great idea and was used on all the BT models, I'm pretty sure. So the BT-5 with the 45mm 20K gun, exactly the same as on the T-26. Main difference between these two tanks is the fact that the BT-7 has a little bit more, BT-5 has a little bit less armor, but has a lot more speed, and it just looks a lot cooler. It just reminds me of my days playing World of Tanks at Tier 2 with a BT-3, I believe, or BT-7. Moving on to the BT-7, as I said, the BT-7 has a little bit more armor. That pretty much almost doubles the armor from the BT-5. Has the same speed and has the... Wow, hello. That's a motor bucket outside my door. And it just looks a little bit more cool. It just has a little bit more around a turret, has a little bit more armor overall. So, you know, a good early tank. I like these BT-7s. They're pretty good in game. Moving on to the T-78 is the T-60 armed with a 45mm gun. Decent armor, 60mm isn't too bad. And it still has that 45mm 20K gun. Good speed, good armor, sloped, small, 2 crew. This vehicle is pretty good, and because of the armor sloping, it actually is a really good early unit because you just have a good gun, a fast vehicle. It's very low and small. It's hard to hit for enemy AT guns, so yeah, it's a very good unit. Another tank armed with a 45mm 20K. These Russians sure love their 45mm 20K guns. A little bit less armor than the T-60, but a lot more speed and a lot more angling. War Thunder, these tanks were known as the fucking trolls of the game. They could not get killed by yak tankers. They would continue to drive up to them and just wreck them from anywhere. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I hope not. But, you know, they don't stand a chance against an autocannon. As you can see, they just got blasted by the T-60. So, you know, it's a good vehicle in some circumstances, but I definitely wouldn't rely on it in the early game. You know, as soon as like a 20mm pops up, it's gonna die. Moving on to the ZSU-37, which I think is just a SU-76 model with a... Yes, there we go. SU-76 chassis with a 37mm AA gun. Oh, I bought the wrong tank. I am too good. This vehicle actually is pretty decent. It has that autocannon, the same autocannon as this one. But the good thing about this is it's on a, you know, hulled... you know, on an armored vehicle. 30mm isn't that big, isn't that much armor, but hey, you know, at least it will protect the crew, and also has a nice high turret, which allows which barely allows them to be shot up. Maybe a lucky AT grenade, or lucky AP grenade, sorry, or a Molotov could kill them, but you know, they're pretty safe from small arms fire, which is the case, which is what, you know, kind of what you want. Moving on to the BT-7A, here it is. The artillery tank I was talking about earlier with a 76mm KT-26. It's very light armored and a pretty fast BT tank with a 76mm howitzer gun, which allows you to blow shit up across, well, not across the map, but, you know, from far away. This is one of the most hated tanks. Together with the Stu-42 and with the M8 Scott. These are annoying tanks because, you know, they can just sit behind the enemy lines and just shell you over and over and over and over. They can even take out light vehicles. They can take out trucks, infantry. I just blew the turret clean off of that ZSU-37, and yeah, they're all gone. So those tanks are insane. Last but not least, in the light tanks are the M3A1 Stuart 1, which is the first variant of the American Stuart tank, of course, lend-leased to Germany, or wow, lend-leased from America to Russia. A 30 cal in the hull, a 30 cal in the coaxial position, and it has a 37mm gun. It has decent armor. It has good speed, very good speed, 58 kilometers an hour. It's just insane. Just look at that acceleration of this vehicle. Decent mobility. I'm gonna stop it again and just go full speed and show you that acceleration is insane. Like, you could just like pop out behind the building like very quickly, just go up and down, down and up. See, that's really useful. It works. Moving on to the medium tanks, where the Russians shine, as you can see by the number of tanks. There's a lot of tanks left. The A-15 Valentine, lent-leased by the British. The A-15 Valentine Mark II with a lot of armor, 65mm of armor, which is pretty insane, considering that, you know, it has a shitty gun, a 40mm QF2 pounder. Slow speed, and that amazing BESA machine gun, which is just such a fast-firing, amazingly sounding machine gun. The tank itself is really slow, but the gun is not too good, but the armor is pretty good for such a tank, for that manpower cost. Moving on to the T-34-76 1940. And we'll just place all of these next to each other, I guess, if we can. Wait, is this a flamethrower? No, it's not. Okay, so here we have the 3 T-34-76s in the Russian tree. Starting off with the 1940s version, armored with 76mm L11 gun, D29, 45mm of armor, 34 kilometers. Moving up to the second one, we have the T-34-76, made in 1941, with a little bit more armor and a F-34 gun, 76mm F-34 gun, and a T-34-76 1943, same gun, same speed, but this time it has even more armor and it just looks a lot cooler. Although I do like these OG T-34s, they remind me of old war movies. So that's the T-34-76s. Moving on to the A-12 Matilda Mark III, another British Lend-Lease vehicle with that fucking shitty, annoying QF2 pounder, but it has so much armor. It's 78mm of armor. It's slow as hell. It's not going to penetrate a lot of stuff, but damn, it's hard to penetrate itself. Like, this is why the Germans in Africa had to use the Flak 88 guns to destroy enemy British tanks, because these Matildas could not be killed otherwise if it wasn't for those flak guns. Insane tanks, insane tanks. We just had this. The T-28 Mott 1939. This tank is, it's just there for show, really, in my opinion. It's just there for show. It has 2 machine gun turrets over here. It has a coaxial machine gun and a rear machine gun. It has 76mm main gun. This tank is really just for the gimmick. It's not there to do anything really. No, well, good armor, but no speed, and I'm pretty sure that armor is pretty much negligible if you just shoot one of the turrets, and it will probably go straight through. But then again, it's a nice novelty tank. The OT-34-76, which is a flamethrower version of the 1943 version. It looks really cool, and it has a whole flamethrower, which, you know, they sacrificed the coaxial, or they sacrificed the whole machine gun and just gave it a whole flamethrower, which it does, you know, that's pretty good. You know, you have a 76mm gun, a coaxial machine gun, and you also have a flamethrower, which in the tank just looks very cool, like camouflage-wise. But that's pretty good, actually. That's a pretty good deal. That tank just got blown up. See, this BT-7 is really powerful against light tanks. Moving on to the M4A2 Sherman. I've already looked at these in the American videos. If you want to see more about that, then go watch that video. The A15 Valentine, I think I've done this in the British version. Let's skip it. The T-34-57, this is the same story. The 57mm is apparently a heavier version, a heavier gun than the 76mm, which makes no sense. This tank doesn't have as much armor as 76 versions, but it does have that 57mm gun, which makes it quite freaking powerful. 10 out of 10 would not get shot up by this gun in a Panzer IV. Wow, Panzer IV. Again, moving on to probably my favorite tank amongst the Russian tech tree, or one of my favorite ones. D-34-85. This is, of course, the famous 85mm armed gun, or tank. It looks sexy as fuck. 90mm of armor, and this is a bane in the eye of any German commander. This will definitely blow Panzer IVs, even Panthers with some luck sky high. And it just looks so cool, and it's just such an iconic Russian design. Like, this tank will never ever be forgotten. There's always going to be, you know, stuff in musea, and it just looks so good. Right, moving on to one of the last ones of the Sherman M4A2-76. Already looked at this in the American video. You can look it up in the playlist, or just, you know, search like Men of War GSM USA Showcase, and you'll probably find it at some point. The T-44-85, which is a pretty damn cool tank, armed with the 85mm ZIS-53 gun, 120mm of armor, good speed, good mobility. This tank is the example of a beautiful medium tank, an example of Russian medium tank ideas, and it just, it's so good. It's so beautiful. Oh, that's an explosion. Holy shit, that was awesome. Can I do that again? Let's try once more on the Valentine Mark 10 or Mark 9 here. Just for fun, why not? Oh god! Ammunition explosions are awesome and now. I never saw that before in GSM. Holy fuck. Alright, well, moving on to the heavy tanks with the T-35 Model 1939. This is the land battleship, as people that play War Thunder will know it. It has 5 machine guns and 2. It has 5 machine guns and has a. I'm not sure how to control those, but it has, I think, 37 or 45 millimeter 2 of those turrets as well. Pretty damn insane. Definitely would not want this thing to show up around the corner. You know, when you're going 17 kilometers an hour top speed, but it seems to be going quite fast for 17 kilometers an hour. The KV-1S, which is a smaller variant of the normal KV-1, I think. I never really understood what the KV-1S. I think the KV-1S is just like a upgraded. It has less armor. It's just a different gun. That's a. I'm not sure what to make out of this. I'm trying. Okay, so the gun is different. The armor is different. But so far, I mean, that's pretty much about it. I think. There's not. The turret's different, of course, but you know, the KV-1S is known by people who play World of Tanks that it's the tier 5 one, I think. Or the tier. No, I'm confused. I've never played World. I haven't played World of Tanks, but that much lately. But there's not a big difference between these two, except for armor and the gun, I guess. Then, but I forgot, of course, the KV-841. Which is a flamethrower version, and this time the flamethrower is in the coaxial position, which makes it very powerful. And it's, you know, because you don't need to turn your entire tank, so you can keep your stronger hull armor towards the enemy, which is really interesting. This vehicle is really good. Moving on to the 822 Churchill. I've already taken a look at this in the British video. I'm not going to take a look at it. The KV-85, which is an 85mm armed KV tank, and it's really damn good. 100mm of armor, not a lot of speed, but this thing can definitely make people cry. It's 85mm gun. It's just really insane. I think it's the same gun as on the AT-30. Well, it's not the same gun, but it's close. I'm not sure what gun it is then, the 85mm D5T. But it's definitely something you don't want to be facing with like a lighter tank. That's just issues with that thing. Moving on to the KV-2. I'll use this in a second on all these troops. KV-2, of course, is the mighty destroyer of worlds. And yet, it's proven again, it just takes out like multiple vehicles with one shot. 152mm gun, ML-10T, insane fucking gun. No speed, no armor, but that's okay. The speed's actually not too bad. But I don't think it should be under heavy tanks. It probably be under like artillery or whatever. The KV-142, which is an upgunned version of the. It's an up-armored version of the KV-1E. Has a just 5 gun, 10mm more armor, but that's about the differences, I suppose. Moving on to the IS-85, which is an IS tank armed with the 85mm gun. This is not the IS-1, is it? No, this might be. This actually is the IS-1, I think. The IS-1 or IS-85, Josef Stalin tank. The bane of German troops in the East. These tanks were modern for their time. Nice armor. The gun is a little bit on the small size for, you know, the size of the tank, but very insane armor. A little bit slow speed, but they fix that with the with these tanks. When I get to those, the KV-220, which is a very heavily armored, I should say, KV tank, with a 85mm. My bad, sorry. 85mm F30 gun, which is a really good gun, and the tank itself has a lot of armor, and it reminds you a lot of the KV-7 and 8 from World of Tanks. Moving on to the IS-122, which is, yeah, this is not something you wanted to pop in. Like, this is not something you want to see on the battlefield. This thing is scary. The 122mm guns are really fucking good. And they will definitely shred anything to pieces that, you know, comes in front of them. Just the size of their guns is just insane. But the reload speed is also quite insane. As you can see, it takes years and years to reload that giant gun in the rather crampy turret, I think. It's not the biggest turret. And, you know, you have to reload a 122mm shell. You know, holy fuck! That was an ammo rack. Oh shit, that was insane. Moving on to the IS-2M, armed with a same gun, but it has a Dushka, you know, top AA gun, which, you know, it allows. Oh, all those vehicles are gonna blow up or burn up. But it allows for, you know, better personal defense, or better, you know, better defense of the tank. That's about the only thing, the real difference between these two, and the ghoul camo that this one has and this one doesn't have. Moving on to the last, and well, not the last, but one of the last vehicles in the Russian tree, and also their last heavy tank, is the IS-3, armed with the 122mm D25 gun, same as on the IS-22 and same as on the IS-2M. But this tank has 250mm of armor, has one of the most trolliest turrets known to man, and has that nice, what's that called again? Not salmon. Oh, let me think about the fish for a second, boys. Citroën in Europe used to make cars with their name. I know what the name in Dutch, which is the issue. Oh my god. What's the name of the... Pike! That's the name. It just makes no sense, but you guys call it a pike. So, with the nice pike nose, and yeah, it's almost impossible to penetrate from the front just because of the angling of the front. It's just insane. Russia, why are you so good with tanks? Moving on to the last tank counter and assault guns tab, the 57mm GMC. Not going to take a look because I've looked at it in the American version of these videos. The Yak 10 AA gun with a 76mm, and this looks really cool with like the things that just like drop down, or hopefully will drop down. Oh, they were just dropped down just now, but maybe not anymore. They just dropped down when I moved. What if I stop it? Will those things go down? Oh, maybe not. Well, anyway, oh, there we go. Oh, come on. That looks so cool. I just love that. That's just like so... I know it doesn't change anything, but it just looks so cool. Doing like, putting those like, side protector. It's not part of the protector. It's, you know, stabilizers out. It's just really like a nice detail. I like that about this game, about this mod. Nice job, GSM guys. The HC-76, the same chassis as the ZSU 37. You know, it's just a 76mm AT gun on a little, you know, anti-tank unit. It's not really meant to do much, but you know, you can definitely stop like a light vehicle rush. Crew is kind of open. Molotov cocktail right in there will definitely burn them alive. From the back, they're pretty you know, vulnerable. From the front, they're pretty well protected, maybe except for the head of the commander, who might get shot off. But no, they're fine. They're fine. Moving on to the ZIS-30. Never really understood this thing. Let's put a 57mm AT gun on literally on a tractor, which is open as fuck. Don't really get the point of this thing. No armor. Guys are absolutely not protected whatsoever. I know it's like a stopgap measure probably, but damn, I would not want to be on one of these vehicles as like a driver or a gun or whatever. Moving on to the Su-85, probably one of the most famous tank destroyers of the war. The 85mm D5S gun. This tank was a beast. Doesn't have a coaxial machine gun, so we'll need infantry or other vehicle support. But that 85mm gun, holy fucking damn, is it powerful. It is insane. For the amount of MP it costs, it's an insane tank destroyer. Moving on to the Voroshilovets with the 85mm 52K. I've already, you know, kind of taken a look at this gun in multiple ways on multiple vehicles, but no, now it's in the back of a Voroshilovets. So, you know, that's a nice thing. You know, it has some more mobility, but the crew is pretty, you know, vulnerable there. Moving on to the Su-85M. Now, I'm not sure what the difference is between these two, so I'll have to buy another one and just make sure. Okay, the 85M loses a little bit of speed, but gains about 30mm of armor, so that's a good trade-off. I don't really see where the armor has gone on. Probably just like thicker armor, I suppose. There's some differences you can see. There's little like cakes here at the top, or like mushrooms or whatever. Not sure what the difference is between the Su-85 and the Su-85M. This is considered a medium tank, though. That's weird. Probably just like a fail, because it should be called a tank destroyer. Moving on to the Su-152, and here we go. The ML-10, ML-20. As I promised, I'm going to fire into this crowd here of tanks. Well, you can see there, it blows shit up. That is an insane gun on an insane vehicle. It has decent armor, no speed, but that gun is insane. It's absolute. It's not even a tank story. It's a freaking like. I really tried to not make it crash, but apparently it wasn't gonna do that. So I left off at the SU-122. So here's the SU-122 with the A19S gun. It's a self-propelled gun, but it's this one is the longer-barreled one, which is made to kill tanks with. So it's not. I guess it can load HE, and I guess it makes a big explosion, but it's not meant to make big explosions or to use. It's more of use against tanks or like vehicles or fortified positions, not really against infantry. The ISU-152, also an amazing tank. This one has the same howitzer, I think, as the. It's basically just an up-armored version of the SU-152, and also has a machine gun on top for self-protection. But the gun itself is gonna be the same. I'll just fire it at that barn and see what happens to that barn. Well, that barn is gone, and so is the barn next to it, pretty much, or the house next to it's almost also have gone. So, yeah, that's the Russian weapons for you. And last but not least, the SU-100 with the 100mm D10S gun, which is seen as the most powerful tank destroyer in the Russian line. It's not the biggest gun, or it's not a 150mm gun, but the 100mm gun can blast through everything, and this thing is scary. You don't want to be facing this in a Tiger or anything below a Tiger for sure. It's you're probably better off running away in that case. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I tried to not make it too long by skipping some of the vehicles that have already looked at into other nations, which is kind of what I do. With, I've also done this in other nations, so. Wasn't the first time I skipped units, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys look forward to an overview of the German units, which will be the last video. Oh my god, which will be the last GSM video on factions anyway. And yeah, take care. Don't forget to stay awesome. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheerio.
You claim this love that you never started. You once destroyed. Broken heart that was already shattered. Holding on to what we have, you take us to the edge and back.